and welcome to another episode of the Mediocrity Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Forrest. Today we have a very special guest. He is the 1987, I got it written down, I didn't even know he had this many accolades, so I had to write it down. He's the 1997 Oregon State High School state champion. He's a two-time Pacific Northwest AM champion, a three-time winner at Arizona State, and a two-time All-American. He's a member of the Arizona State Sports Hall of Fame, two-time winner on the Canadian Tour, a one-time winner on the Corn Ferry Tour, played 5 full seasons on the PGA Tour where he was ranked 40, where at his peak was ranked 48th in the world. And of course, what most people know him for, he was the 2000 U.S. Amateur Champion, and he's now the assistant golf coach for the Oregon Ducks. Everybody, Jeff Quinney.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike.
Jeff, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I've known you probably for, God, I don't know, over 20 something years. And I knew you had accolades, but when I was doing my research on you, my God, dude, I didn't, you always tell us about the ASU Hall of Fame stuff, but I didn't know you had the Pacific Northwest and all that stuff.
I think you missed two other ones, two
Oregon
Amateur champions as well.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
okay.
Those are some trophies I have in my trophy cabinet that I'm proud for.
Jesus, my bad. We don't want to leave anything. Oh, you know what else I left out? Actually, now you think about it, he was also, I believe, all state for high school basketball.
I don't know if all state. I think that gets over exaggerated. I was
all league, maybe
MVP of the team and all league.
Okay,
not state.
Not
I
all
was
state.
not
Okay.
an elite state basketball player, but maybe we get into that later. But yeah, basketball was a big part of my life.
Okay,
yeah.
So all league, not all state. So
Yeah,
anybody looking
yeah.
up, don't believe that hype. So, but anyway, impressive resume. Very accomplished golfer. So I was even, like I said, surprised at all the accolades you had. I mean, I knew you were good, but
Yeah.
very impressive. As I stated last year, the assistant, I wanted to start kind of where you're at now. Obviously, you're the assistant men's golf coach at the University of Oregon, which is pretty cool for you, I'd imagine. You grew up in Eugene, Oregon. You were a lifelong Oregon Ducks fan. So, what does it mean for you to be the assistant coach at the university you kind of grew up, cheering for, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I just finished my third season. Casey Martin, the head coach, was a longtime childhood friend. Our fathers were friends before I was even born.
Okay.
And Casey's about 6 or 7 years older than me, so he was an elite golfer in high school and college, and I would always look up to him at the country club as a kid.
Okay.
When he was 15 to 18, when he was a really standout player, I was probably 10 years old, and then really getting serious about the game and watch his practice habits and really admire him. And his older brother Cam played collegiate golf too, so I kind of had a role model to kind of start me and kickstart my golf.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what is talk us through kind of what the in season, what the kind of day-to-day operations are for the assistant coach, kind of what is your main focus? How much time are you spending with the kids, or do you have other responsibilities?
Yeah, I mean, so the golf season is a long season. We have a fall and spring season. Most sports are just one season, but we have 4 events in the fall. I think eight or nine in the spring, with postseason possibilities as well. So it's a busy schedule.
Yeah.
I kind of follow like a teacher schedule. We'll play the fall season, have a little bit of break. We'll come back in January and then finish off. But it's been great. We have a big team, 14 kids. I just finished my third season and still learning a lot.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like I know the golf game from a junior to college to professional as a player. But then to kind of go into the coaching realm, first time ever coaching, was a learning curve for me. And I think year 3, I've improved my skills a little bit.
Nice. No, very good. I wanted to ask you, since you're kind of, involved in the kids, obviously, of the team, with the new landscape of golf in general, but with now too with the PGA Tour and the Live Tour, I'm just curious, like, are the college kids still just focused on making it to the PGA Tour, or does anybody talk about trying to get on the Live Tour? I know it's obviously the avenues are slow, but are they or the avenues are kind of closed up for the most part, but are they watching the Live Tour as well? And
Yeah.
talking about trying to maybe someday make it onto that tour as well? Or
Yeah, I don't think there's a kid on our team that doesn't want to play golf for a living.
Yeah.
I think even I stepped on the grounds at the collegiate level. I didn't know I want to play golf for a living.
Right.
And I think now just everything started earlier, and every sport is that way. We have 2 kids or 3 kids last year that were the PGA Tour U is basically a point system where they're trying to get their Corn Ferry card or a PGA Tour card. And we had a couple of guys that started this season on that points list, so they're very aware of what's going on. They discuss the Live Tour. We have some guys that are friends with Phil Mickelson and are a little bit biased on one way, and some guys are more traditionalists. So, these guys are professionals at a young age, and at least practice and act like professionals with workouts and discipline and their diets, and they're doing everything they can.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that before the show. It's a different ball game than when you were coming up.
Yeah,
I mean, they all have, like you said, they have teams. Some might even have a head coach, like a shrink almost.
Yeah, they all have swing
coaches
at home. We'll definitely help them with their swings and their short games and their mental, but they do have swing coaches at home.
Yeah.
But, you don't want to have too many guys telling you, too many things in their ear.
Sure.
And then me and Casey even talk to each other about that. It's like, okay, if you're telling them one thing and I'm telling another, you got to be on the same page.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of information out there. I mean, we have great facilities at Oregon now. We have a building we call the Jake after Peter Jacobson. We have all the technology, the TrackMan, the cameras, so that they have everything they need to get better at the game.
Cool. And is it something you foresee doing? Like something kind of like a long career for you? You're just, or is it kind of like I'm enjoying it now? And
I'm enjoying it right now. I didn't know initially was like my desire this wasn't my plan.
So you never wanted to. It wasn't like when I'm done golfing, I want to be a coach.
Yeah, no, I finished playing golf in 2015. Was kind of looking for that passion or what's my next move.
Yeah.
And I got my real estate license and did a little bit of that and didn't love it. And then Casey gave me a call and I took the chance to move back home. Oregon's been great. My mom lives there. I have 3 brothers that are in Oregon, so it's really easy to go back. And the transition was really easy to go back to Eugene and being part of the Oregon brand and Oregon athletics. It's just awesome to be around.
That's great. That's awesome. And like you said, your mom lives there. Your brother lives there. You grew up in Oregon.
Yeah.
So as a kid coming up, was it strictly golf, or did you? I know we discussed you played basketball. Did you also play baseball? Was it kind of whatever in season? You didn't just focus on one sport.
Yeah, I mean, I was the youngest of 4 boys. So my dad was a collegiate athlete, standout star in basketball, football, baseball.
And where did he play?
He played hoops at BYU.
Wow. Okay.
And he got drafted by the Yankees at high school as a pitcher. And 6'5", a big dude.
Yeah.
None of my brothers were all about 6'1", 5'10". None of us got the height my dad had, but sports was our life. I mean, that's all we did from growing up. Being the youngest, I really thrived at an earlier age, just playing against bigger, stronger kids. And I played tennis, I played golf, played baseball. I did it all.
Okay.
Played football. I was a quarterback until 8th grade, and then my dad kind of convinced me not to go out for football. And golf really ran into August and daily doubles. Really, I mean, okay.
Oh.
I mean,
It's all right. You won't even be able to see it. Don't worry. We can block. Uh-oh.
Okay.
We got technical difficulties.
You yelling at me on your interview today.
What?
Putting a,
I'm sorry.
This will, I'll keep this in, folks. We just have a little difficulties. Don't worry. We won't edit this out. This is solid gold. So Jeff Quinney's girlfriend, Lindsay's, decided she needed to get up.
She had an interview today as a sign, don't disrupt my interview, and as she's walking out. Like, oh my God.
Did she put the sign up?
Yeah, I was taking a nap and in her bedroom and said, please do not walk out during my interview. I'm going to make no noise. And she does this.
Classic. No, we're going to leave this in. It's going to be epic. So, no, that's great. I told you.
So where did I leave off here?
Lindsay.
Yeah. So where did I leave off? Basically, sports is our life growing up. And lucky enough, we belonged to a country club, and that was our daycare. And in the summer, it was golf and tennis.
Yeah.
And Mom would drop you off at 9 a.m. and pick you up at dark and go to the pro shop and call and be like, Mom, I'm getting ready to be picked up. I would hit balls, I'd swim, charge cheeseburgers and milkshakes to the account, and it was a great upbringing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then so in high school, as I alluded to in your accolades there, so you won the state title your senior year. Did you also win your junior year? Or?
No, just senior year. Yeah. at Tristan Tree, where it was in Corvallis. I remember making a long putt, like 30-footer on the last hole. I think it was co-champions with Aaron Byers, another good buddy of mine. But, I didn't really know golf was my passion, or kind of more sophomore year in high school. I started winning tournaments and doing pretty well and loved hoops,
I was going to say, did you prefer, were you more of a hooper as far as you loved hoops?
Yeah, I mean, in Oregon, I really did not touch a club from October 1 to March 1.
Right.
It was hoop season in the rainy Northwest. It wasn't easy to play, which kind of kept me fresh. I think sometimes we had a lot of kids that moved down to California, took it more serious,
played all the time,
and got burnt out.
I was going to say that's the recipe for burnout. Yeah. When did you? Because again, you were all state in golf, but again, as we alluded to, you weren't all state in hoops, but you were all league.
Yeah.
You were MVP of your team. I think I read somewhere too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You also played AAU basketball, and that AAU team won the national championship.
Yeah, we did. I think we were 14 or something like that, and I pretty much shut down the summer basketball. Like, I picked up the ball in October and I didn't work at it. Right, it was in season, get in shape, shoot a little bit, but I didn't put anything into it. Maybe if I did, it could have played like a junior college or something like that.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask.
If the effort wasn't there in the hoops.
Okay, so you didn't have, it wasn't one of those things where you had to choose between, do I play college golf or college basketball? Really, it was.
You've seen us playing the men's rec league. I didn't have.
Well, we were much older then. And I think you were carrying a little more weight, as we all are now.
Subs.
There's a lot of meat on us now, but so we can't even judge by that intramural team we played in. But okay, I was always curious. I wasn't sure if you had scholarship because I know you were a pretty good hooper. So from growing up a lifelong Oregon Duck fan, how did you end up? Because again, you were all state. You won many golf tournaments. How did you pick ASU did University of Oregon offer you a scholarship? And if so, why did you pick ASU growing up a lifelong Ducks fan?
Yeah, in the late, I graduated high school in 97, and the Oregon golf program was not quite where it is now. And they didn't have the facilities, and I wanted to chase the sun. So I took a recruiting trip to BYU. I took a recruiting trip to Stanford. I really wanted to go to Stanford, but I didn't get in. I did not get in academically. And then I wanted to stay in the Pac-12, and Randy Line, head coach Brian Henniger, a fellow Eugene golfer at USC, and kind of knew our family a little bit. I mean, I was a good golfer. I wouldn't say it was like a prodigy. I was still a little bit of a project, but more of an athlete. Like, he got some potential to blossom. So loved it down here. I didn't have the greatest recruiting trip. I had some funny stories about, good friends of ours, Padilla and Perez and Joey Steiner, and these guys are drinking beer and taking me out to parties, and I was a little sheltered and a little scared to come down here, but it ended up being great.
So on the recruiting, on your recruiting trip, that's who they kind of stuck you with?
Tim Mickelson was my host.
Oh, Tim was your host. Okay.
Yeah, so Phil's brother, and he took me around in his black Mustang, and I thought it was really cool, but I was a little overwhelmed coming down here. The team was super strong. They had just won the national championship 2 years before.
Right.
And you're always a little worried about playing time. And luckily, when I came in, Perez left the team, Joey Snyder graduated, Scott Johnson, Chris Snell, all Americans graduated. So it was just like the perfect storm where four starters left, and I came in as a freshman. Originally, I was going to redshirted for 2 weeks, and then started beating the guys and took me out of redshirt.
Oh, nice. And you had like you said, a lot of the national championships graduated, but a few good guys came into your class too, right? Matt Jones, Paul Casey was on your team, Jin Park.
Yeah.
So all those guys played on the
me and Paul played all 4 years together. Matt came in my sophomore year in January. Me and Jin were freshmen together, so we played a ton of tournaments. And basically, that starting four was our core guys, and we had won a lot of tournaments, and it pushed us, and it made me a better player. When you have future PGA Tour winners, Ryder Cuppers that you don't know at the time, if you're just trying to beat your teammates, it makes you way better. Yeah. And so we had a blast.
And you won 3 times in college, right?
I think so. Yeah, the ASU tournament shot 62, which kind of sucks because Carson's gone now.
Yeah,
like one of your best rounds. It's not even. Like,
the nice thing is you're the record holder, the low score there, and nobody's going to beat that now.
Exactly.
Of course, doesn't exist. So that's nice.
Yeah, no, we had a fantastic. I wouldn't do anything over again. ASU was
Yeah.
great for me, and
Never won the national championship though, right?
we never
Pac-12,
did. We won
Pac-10 champions.
three of the
But,
4 Pac-10
okay.
championships. Our senior year, Paul did not come back for the spring, turned pro, so that would have probably been our best chance, but just didn't happen. But
And then Matt also left, didn't he?
he left with us. I think he wasn't into his school as much, and most of our core guys are leaving, and I think he was just ready to turn pro, and
Yeah.
it was his time.
Okay. Yeah, very good. And so walk me through real quick, though, that I want to just go back to it. So on your recruiting trip, though, Tim was your host, but
Yeah.
Perez and those guys took you around. And for you, because I had Matt on last episode, and he was saying you were kind of a little bit more laid back,
Yeah,
like you were saying, like you weren't, the Jeff Quinney we all know and love now. You were a little more reserved, not a big drinker at that time. So where'd they take you? What was that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they put me on Mill Avenue
Okay.
at the hotel next to the stadium. I can't remember the name of it, but a huge football week, and I think the Ducks were playing ASU, and ASU maybe won an overtime game. It was an awesome game. I think when you come in here, you're like 17 years old, and on your recruiting trip.
Would your recruiting trip been in '96 when ASU
It was
undefeated? Like
no, it was after Jake.
Oh, the '97. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I was just a little bit sheltered, little kid from Oregon that came down to the big city, and the kids were not saying I didn't have a beer in high school, but it was they were partying hard, and it was a little much for me. And I'm like, I'm not sure I like this. If you deal with Pat Perez for
I was gonna say Perez is throwing you into the deep end.
Yeah, he's not saying, hey, welcome to the team. He's there's other things being said. So
that's funny. And so you had a great junior season at ASU, right? I think that's when you won I think you won a couple tournaments, and then you were medalist for the NC2A regional.
Yeah.
And then you kind of carried that momentum over, obviously, for the summer. That's when you won one of the Pacific AMs and
the summer between my junior and senior year is probably the biggest summer. I won the Oregon AM, which is a match play event, P&J, which is a match play event, and that was the first time I qualified for the USAM. I always missed local, and so this is the first time I ever got back there and qualified back in Baltusrol, and the first time I qualified, I ended up winning the thing.
Yeah.
So it was a very awesome summer.
And how was that? Since we just brought it up, obviously, it's winning the U.S. Amateur is obviously it's the biggest amateur tournament in the world. I would think, right? So that's a pretty big, man. I mean, it used to be, correct me if I'm wrong, like a major.
Yeah.
Back in.
I mean, I have a replica trophy at home, and you got Tiger Woods, you have Jack Nicklaus, you have Arnold Palmer, you name it, guys that have won that tournament. Some of them can consider a major, and that's just a huge accomplishment. Every time you hear somebody on TV, it's Matt Kuchar, former U.S. Amateur champion. Anytime it's just a title.
The list of names.
And then they can never take that away. That's something I take pride in.
Now, how was the week? Talk us through kind of the week of the U.S. Am. Like you said, it was in New York, right?
New Jersey, yeah.
New Jersey, Baltusrol, which is a it's hosted dozens of majors and other events. So it's a big boy course.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I still remember like it was yesterday. I mean, we played 2 courses, the lower and the upper. The matches are played on the upper, and most of the U.S. Opens are on the lower. And that's where we qualified the first round. I think I shot 41 on the front 9.
I think it was a 42.
42.
Yeah. So you're sitting there
behind the 8 ball, like flew all the way across the country. Here we go, and maybe shoot 1 or 2 under, 75 for the day, 5 over. Come back and shoot 69 in the upper, maybe qualify middle of the pack. And
now, was it nerve? Do you think it was nerves playing a role? Do you think in that first 9, just kind of let the moment get to you and you were able to kind of level it out?
I think so. I mean, anytime you go to a USGA event, it just feels bigger, and there's signs or the check-in, the range balls. You're hitting Titleist range balls, and all the top players across the country. And it's just felt like a big moment. Maybe I was overwhelmed, a little nervous the front 9 holes, and then settled into things.
Okay. And so you've obviously got through to the match play portion, and it's kind of, I mean, you had to beat a ton of guys that ended up being really world renowned.
Yeah, I mean, the resume that these guys had after the fact was pretty good.
So you beat Hunter Mahan, Ben Curtis,
Lucas
Glover, and then obviously James Christian in the finals. But on a couple of those matches, you were down big, right, early.
Yeah.
Were you down? What were you down against?
I want to say it was down 4 to Hunter, and good buddies of mine, Jason Housey and DJ Lewin, were watching there. And
did they go watch?
They were watching. I remember they were heckling a little bit of Hunter. Like they'd be like, I remember I specifically blocked like a 9-iron or wedge on a par 3, and it was like, block party over here. And these guys are probably getting into Hunter's mind a little bit, but
nice. I never knew that. So they might have been the reason that Hunter. Cracked a little bit.
I don't know if DJ was living in New York at the time or something, and Housey qualified and Jonesy qualified.
Oh, did they qualify as well?
They didn't make match play, I don't believe, but then I think Housey must have stuck around for whatever reason and watched, and my family flew out. I can probably tell you more about it, but my brother Mark was in Bend playing golf and took a red eye in his golf shoes and showed up to the final match like no clothes, and my college coach took a red eye, so a lot of people showed up last minute. It was pretty awesome.
Nice. And then you were up in the finals against James Driscoll, who was a really good amateur player, right, at the time. And you were up, I think, 3 up with 3 to play.
Yeah.
And kind of shit yourself.
I think it's just a total
just a collapse.
Gag fest. You're trying just to make par and not you kind of take the pedal off. And if you hit in the rough, you can't hit the green. So I made a bogey. Then he makes an unbelievable birdie on 17, makes like a 12-foot slider out of a fairway bunker. He hits it behind the pine cone on 18, chips it to 140 yards, gets it up and down for par. Just like the typical match play, just disasters that happen. And we ended up playing a couple holes that night after 36 holes.
And how did those holes go? Were you guys pushed for?
We both parred. I think we parred 1 and 2, and then on the third hole, the lightning came in and big old thunderstorm in New Jersey in the summer and borderline dark because we've been out there all day, and they called it due to darkness and storms. So basically, had to sit on that choke fest.
How was that? How was that? You probably didn't get much sleep.
I remember we had a dinner. I think we were staying like the Ramada Newark Airport. It's like, what do you can afford as a
as a college
golfer, staying 7 nights and extending your stay and whatnot. And I don't know, we eat like the crappy hotel food, and no one knew what to say to me. Right, my family.
There's nothing you can say.
And no sleep, but I think it was up first time Monday morning. I don't know. I wore a red shirt, and my brother Mark always talks about the tiger red. Like he was happy that I wore that red shirt Monday morning, and I'm luckily enough to hit it to 35 feet and make a
what was the
bomb.
Okay, so you went. So it stopped with you guys having to hit your second shot.
So the third hole's a par 3, probably about 200 yards.
Okay.
James had the honor. I think he hit 5-iron. He was longer than me. Hit it long right, and basically I knew he was out of position, and he was going to have a tough time making par. So I played to the fat side of the green, 35 feet. He chipped it off the green, probably had 15 feet for par. So all he was trying to do was lag it, but it was so fast. And I think if it doesn't hit the hole, it's going by 8 feet just because of the pure speed of the greens. And luckily, it went in the hole and was over from there.
Nice. So, And how did that? How did that feel?
Just relief.
Was it more relief at that point after blowing kind of?
I don't know if I could ever wake up again as you choke that away and have to live that the rest of your life. But then they send me to a plane to Germany that afternoon to go play in the World Cup Eisenhower team. And
really?
We ended up winning that. Bryce Mulder, probably the best collegiate player at that time, won individually, and we won another team title. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Who else was on that?
Ben Curtis team? And me and Bryce, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Very good. Now, let me ask you, what, you win a U.S. Amateur, right? What kind of pressure does that kind of put on yourself then moving forward? Because you came back to ASU for your senior year, right? I imagine it's kind of not a heavy burden, but being a U.S. Amateur, I imagine it's a burden because you're then out to prove, I'm the U.S. Amateur champion. I deserve to win the tournament. I'm one of the better players in the world, right? You put that added pressure on yourself. How did that go?
I didn't know how to handle it, I don't think. And these are kind of the things I think about. I didn't have a mentor or somebody to teach me how to handle it. I was just kind of on my own, and my dad was a good athlete, but it wasn't like we had a core group to kind of guide me through that. And I had a little swing issues my senior year. Didn't have a great year, some decent tournaments, but Then you get thrown into the Masters and the U.S. Open and the
Right.
majors, and you're basically trying to raise your stock and thinking, okay, if I make the cut at the Masters, then I'm going to have some endorsement opportunities.
Right.
And it piles up. It was a lot. So I
And
wasn't ready, basically.
how was I think now definitely like you win the U.S. Amateur, automatically, okay, like Callaway or TaylorMade, they're going to go after you, and you're going to make X amount in endorsements. Was it the same for you, or because you were going back to ASU, you really couldn't, and you decided not to turn pro after winning that? So did you kind of, what kind of advantages did you reap from the U.S. Amateur? I know you, like you said, you got into the Masters, obviously U.S. Open, British Open, and I think all the majors, right? But was there a monetary? Oh, no PGA. Yeah. Was there a monetary?
There was a little nest egg to start with, which helped. I ended up signing with Callaway right out of school. Played Ping equipment all through school, and just didn't quite work out. Callaway came up with a better offer, and hindsight, probably chased the money and then played the equipment. And then I got my tour card. 5 years later, playing Ping irons.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
I tell my kids even now and on the team, like, hey, let's play the best equipment. You can have access to anything you want. Just don't chase the money or chase the brand. Play what's best for your game.
Because in the long run, the money's going to come, and you play the wrong equipment, your career could be shortened because equipment's important.
Yeah.
So you got into, as you alluded to, all the majors after winning the U.S. Amateur. How was your experience at the Masters? I read where you did a Tuesday practice round, I think, with Arnold Palmer, right?
Yeah, Arnold Palmer, one of the highlights of my life. IMG was kind of, recruiting you a little bit, so they lined up a little. Tee time was supposed to be Sergio and Arnie on Tuesday. Actually, I got rained out. Was on the putting green on Wednesday, just kind of be paired with a couple of the amateurs, and Arnie came up, it's like, hey, we still have our game, and like I don't think I even warmed up or hit any balls.
No, hell no.
I was like we're going straight to the tee. So I mean, my parents and everybody knew Arnie was like, of course, one of the best days of my life. Yeah,
that's cool. And did he was he giving you stories on every hole, or like how was he for the practice round?
I don't know if we had super deep conversations. He took so many pictures and shake so many hands and kissing babies on the sidelines, but. I don't know how old he was in 2001, but it was probably one of the last ones. I think. Yeah. Just something I'll never forget. And we stayed in the crow's nest. I was going to say, so you stay.
How was that? Because there's always famous stories of the amateurs staying.
I moved off property after Thursday's round. I didn't play very well Thursday. I think everyone elected to stay there. I think we had 5 guys there, and Greg Puga I haven't seen in years, but I mean the guy would come back at like 2 a.m. every night. Like he was like, I'm not going to make the cut or something. I'm going to go out and have the time of my life, and came home late. And there was one guy, I think from the European side, was a snorer. And it was just like, you have a tough enough time sleeping, let alone with the pressure coming.
I'm surprised you didn't sneak out with the guy and come and take advantage of, not that there's a great nightlife in Augusta by any means, but.
No, that was a special treat. I never got to play as a pro, unfortunately, but went back as a fan a few years ago, but what did
I always say the Masters is, as I told Jones when we were talking about his Master experience, it lives up. I can imagine for a player, but you have as a fan, it lives up. It's one of the rare sporting events that lives up to the hype. The place is just unbelievable. How was the first drive you
Magnolia
did?
Lane there. Yeah, I mean, I was 21 years old, right? I was just so deer in headlights. I wasn't quite ready. I think these kids nowadays at 21 are ready.
They're ready, yeah.
I think Ricky Barnes at the time, he finished top 15, which is amazing at that stage in your life where you're ready for the big stage. And swing wise, maybe I wasn't there. Confidence wasn't quite there, but
maybe you didn't have to be ready at that age either, though, right? At that time, Of course, maybe you don't realize that now. Maybe looking back, it's like, shit, I should have probably enjoyed that week or.
I think that's a common discussion of nowadays, right? Everyone put their dues in, or even in the major leagues or NFL. Now they're ready to play their first year. And I think that goes back to starting earlier in coaching and training. And, it took me 4 or 5 years on the mini tours to get out there before the big time. Yeah. Now these kids are ready at 20, 22. They're ready.
They're ready for it. They're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Now, how was the 2001 U.S. Open? Obviously, you got into from winning the amateur. You were paired with Tiger Woods, round 1 and round 2, correct?
Frightening.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this is peak Tiger. Yeah. This is invincible. He had just won 4 in a row, right?
Tiger Slam.
Yeah.
So he's going for his 5th in a row at Southern Hills in Tulsa. And I'm reading Harvey Pinnock books, Golf's a Game of Confidence or Bob Rotella books, and then could not sleep like in the morning. It's crazy what I was trying to do to prepare. And I think about back to the days, like I hit the first tee shot great because I kind of prepared all mentally for that first tee shot. And then I like just forgot how to play golf after that. Like scolded an 8-iron over the green, chipped it 3-putted, made 6 in the first hole. Like all I have to do is get off the first tee.
Yeah.
And I striped it. Same thing at the Masters. I striped it off the first tee and then it's all downhill. So.
How was playing with Tiger? I mean, obviously in 2001, like we said, he was peak Tiger. And back then, I don't think he was the friendliest player to people, right? So was there much conversation?
Very little. I think, he was teammates with Casey Martin, so there was a little bit of common there. But what did he talk to Tiger Woods about going for his 5th major? Kind of playing poorly, trying to stay out of his way a little bit. Thomas Bjorn was our 3rd. He actually talked to me a little bit and kind of calmed me down, or at least like, hey, but the media, the amount of people, it was just out of control.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just I can't even, probably 30 deep.
Exactly. Your family can't watch. They're 10 to 12 deep. It's 100,000 degrees in Tulsa in June. It's just awful. So.
Well, if you look at what Tiger shot the first round, I think he was intimidated to play with the U.S. Amateur champion.
Yeah, I think I dragged him down after my 48 on the front or something.
Is that what you shot on the front?
I think it was like 44 or something like that.
Because he shot, I think, a 74 or something. I looked it up.
There was another rain delay that saved my life, and I came back and
somewhat brought it in there.
On the back 9.
And then when you got into the British Open as well that year, where was that British Open at?
Yeah.
Who were you paired with?
Royal Lytham St. Anne's, paired with Nick Price and Lee Westwood.
Wow.
That was pretty cool. Got to play a practice round with Nick Faldo. We stared.
And how was he?
He was actually pretty nice. Yeah. Only 9 holes, I think, late afternoon one day, and he's a big dude. It's amazing how big he is in person. But that was a great experience. My brother DJ caddied for me there. I had a local caddy at the Masters, which was great. But maybe if I did it over again, I'd maybe have a college team or family member
just
there.
To share the experience with you.
My brother DJ did the U.S. Open and the British Open, which is
that's great,
fun memories for him. We have great pictures, and unfortunately didn't make any cuts. But we played the Scottish Open before the British Open. I mean, it was awesome.
You kind of alluded to it earlier. You probably weren't ready, to play in those events yet. You kind of a rough senior season. So when you turned pro, it took a little while for you to get your PGA Tour card.
Yeah.
You started out on the Canadian Tour, correct?
Yeah, I missed the normal PGA Tour school first stage right off the bat. Just played poorly, wasn't ready. A little bit nervous, a little bit expectations in yourself, and so what's my next move? Canadian Q school, and hindsight was probably great. I think I finished 2nd on the money list that year and won twice. It was Hank Keeney and Steve Scott, and we were on the Golf Channel. It was like before Golf Channel had carried the big tour.
Right.
So we got a ton of airtime, and it was just the stepping stone that I needed. And then I graduated, 3 more years on the Corn Ferry, and then 2006.
And you broke through on the Corn Ferry in Oregon, right? Your tournament, you won.
Yeah, I won in 2004. Unfortunately, did not get my card then. I played like crap all year after that, but so it took me 2 years after that win to even graduate in 2006. But so 4 years on the Corn Ferry it took me to get out to the big stage.
And how was life on the tour, on the Corn Ferry tour and the tour? And like you said, you were pretty close probably with a little core group when you're doing those type of tours. So I imagine there's a lot of pressure because you want to, achieve the PGA Tour, but hopefully you're enjoying the experience of trying to get there. Was it something where you and a core group of guys traveled together all the time and, we
did the Monday qualifiers. We were doing host families would host us for dinner and, cut some expenses there. We'd play poker, it was when ESPN was started like all that poker. So we'd travel with poker chips and kill some time that way. And I needed that process to get my maturity, my game, the experience of travel, all needed to be built up.
Nice. Give me some of your favorite stops on the Corn Ferry tour. Like if you were to miss a cut, where would you want to miss a cut at on the Corn Ferry tour?
I think one of my favorite friends was the Greenville BMW Pro-Am. I got paired with Wayne Gretzky's wife, Janet, one time. She was my partner. And then Kevin Costner's wife one year.
Oh, interesting. So they put the wives with you, huh?
the wives and
trying to get you in trouble.
And Wayne was in front of me and Costner's in front of me. But that's one tournament kind of jumps. That was fun. It was 3 days, and in Greenville, South Carolina is a fun town. They took care of us well.
And then I heard one of the top spots is Athens, Georgia, right?
Yeah.
I heard that's kind of a fun start. One of your friends told me to ask you about a story. So you guys missed the cut. Not you guys. You missed the cut. I think a buddy was there to visit. So you went out to University of Georgia, got after it a little bit, and started.
Yeah, I think that's
challenging.
I think that's one school I'd maybe take a recruiting visit to if I had another choice. Maybe tour the SEC schools and go to a football game. But I don't know how old we were, but yeah, we were out in the night of the town and some attractive, I guess, Southern girls out and about. I'm guessing this is the start you're talking about.
Yeah, well, no, I know that, but then too, I heard you were anybody with the golf shirt on, you were challenging two aside.
This was after. I think I'd already made some money on the PGA Tour, so I was running my lip a little bit.
This wasn't the Corn Ferry. You went back and
we watched the ASU Georgia game.
Got it. So I screwed the story up.
With Tree and DJ, we took a road trip and we're at it. I can't remember the name of it, like almost like Bulldogs or something. And yeah, I think I had a habit of somebody with a Titleist hat. I'd run my mouth and say, "Hey, you want to go play two aside?" And then it turned into this and this. And then he had all his fraternity brothers up there, and they came down as a big pile of possible scuffling, but we got out of it.
And didn't the one guy goes, "I've got some guys that would play you two aside," and like he brought the whole Georgia golf team.
I don't know if it was a golf team. I thought it was just a frat, basically.
I heard it was the Georgia golf team, and that golf team, and then they knew who you were, so it was like, it was all good, but they knew who you were, and it was like at the time that golf team I think was like Harris English, and I don't know if Bubba was on the team at then or
Bubba's my age. So,
was he? Yeah. So who was on that? Or maybe Brian Harmon.
They had a lot of studs. Georgia had a bunch of studs.
So it's kind of looking back now, it would have been an interesting match.
Yeah.
But I thought that happened after you missed the cut in Athens. But no, okay. So you had already.
This was after I made a little money and status, I guess. I was running my mouth too much.
No, it's a great story. But so after the Corn Ferry, like you said, you finally get your PGA Tour card, and one thing you didn't do was struggle on the PGA Tour early on.
Yeah.
Your top 10, your first 4 out of 5 tournaments.
Yeah, I think I just continued my momentum from the Corn Ferry. I finished 6th on the money list. I just started on the West Coast and just continued to roll. I think my first.
So you think at that time though you were? I know you said you weren't ready out of college and you weren't ready to win the U.S. after the U.S. Amateurs, and it struggled, but you've kind of dialed it in.
27, 28 years old at this time, and I feel like I'm ready. I'm not scared of the lights as much, and just started rolling that West Coast. I got into a roll and had a chance to win a couple tournaments. And, before I know it, I made $1 million in 4 weeks, and you kept your card in the first month, and the pressure was off. And my first 2 years were like that on the West Coast, and it was awesome. But then in like year 3, I didn't play as good on the West Coast, and I didn't play very good in Florida and the Texas side. So it put a lot more pressure on me.
Now you could have what was it? Maybe your 3rd or 4th tournament was the Phoenix Open, right? And you had the 36 and 54 hole lead.
Yeah.
How was it going to sleep on your home? At this time, your home tournament, sleeping on the lead. Were you nervous at all?
I think I was more comfortable, but I think it was a lot. I mean, huge crowds, and luckily I'd finished 3rd at the Bob Hope, or 4th, and like 7th at and played with Tiger again at Torrey Pines. So those were like had been in the heat at least a couple of weeks before, and so just on a roll, and choked that one away with one bad shot on 17. And
is that what it was? 17. But I mean, you sleeping on the 54 lead, and then you did go out and shot. I know you said you choked it away, and I guess you did in a way towards the end. But I mean, you shot a 31 on the front, so you slept on the lead, came out firing on all cylinders, birdied 4 out of the first 7 holes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 20 under for the tournament. A ton under par, and played great the front 9, and and huge crowds, and
3-shot
birdie like 14, which is a tough birdie hole, and didn't birdie 15. It was the green side, and then parred 16, and just I lived that moment a lot on 17, and I even watched these guys on TV still make the same mistake I did, and trying to decide what to hit off the tee, and I still would hit the driver if I did over again. Just normally my miss was always right, and I think I just got so quick and amped up that I hit it left in that water.
Made bogey there and
made bogey, but I had a great recovery shot to like 4 feet to make it for par, and I missed that.
Oh, did you miss the par? But I forgot kind of how. Then the 18
18, I was one down. I got flip flop, so
okay.
badly birdie 15, 16, 17 on me.
Prick.
I saw him. I see him not too around town here in Scottsdale, and I always joking that he ruined my career. So,
yeah. Do you think about that sometimes?
Oh yeah.
Like, is it something that you like? What could have been if you won that tournament, or even we'll talk about in a minute, but or we can just lead into it now. Yeah. Even the Players Championship. Yeah. I don't know if it was I think it was your second year on
2008,
tour, right?
Our second year, yeah.
And you had I think you were tied going into 18 at obviously the biggest event on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I mean, I think golf's hard to live that way, to look back, but yeah, you're always looking at one shot or one hole but I did a lot of great things to get there. And, 2008, paired with Sergio, where at the time, Paul Goidos had a couple shot lead on us, but I was basically playing for second or third place, and made bogey on 18, hit a great second shot, just went through the green in the short side bunker and made bogey, and Sergio lays up to 40, 50 yards and gets up and down, and he wins in the playoff. I mean, those are changing tournament. Just to win a PGA Tour changes your life. And I never won, and that hurt
especially
my status.
Especially a Players,
right?
Back then too. A Players is
what,
like 10 year.
I think it was 5 at the time, but everyone knows it's hard to keep your job, and that security of winning the tournament is huge. I just never did that, and I had a few opportunities to do, and it just
that Players too it has to hurt a little bit in a way that maybe it hurts less. You hit a phenomenal shot.
Yeah.
That's the thing with the Phoenix Open. I think, like you said, you screwed up. You pulled the shot into the water. The Players, you pulled the shot off.
Yeah, I mean, I had my little Kent hybrid, my little sponsor. I think it was 215 yards to the hole, and the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour. And I honestly said, "Get up!"
Yeah.
And it just came out flying with no spin, lands in the front, rolls in the back bunker, short sided.
And you're screwed there. You have no
downwind bunker shot, no shot. But that one doesn't hurt. It does hurt probably the most because it's the biggest tournament, but it wasn't because of lack of commitment or lack of a bad shot.
Right. You were in the heat in one of the biggest tournaments in the world, and you held up. So.
I think the funny story with Matt Irwin, my caddy, we talked about, okay, on the first tee or first green or putting green, say, hey, get a number on your head what you're going to take, because it's blowing 20 to 30, and Phil Mickelson shoots 80, VJ shoots 80 behind us, and Kenny Perry shoots 80. Like, I ended up shooting 70 that day, and like 3 birdies on the back and 1 bogey, which is unbelievable golf.
Oh,
just happened.
It's unbelievable at the Players if there wasn't wind.
Yeah, just 1 bogey on the last hole. It kind of haunts you.
Yeah,
but, great memories.
No, that's awesome. I also heard a story from the Players, and I don't know if it was that tournament or another year though, that I heard you had to back off of a shot one time because you looked at one side of the ropes, and you happened to possibly see a female friend that you might have hooked up with one night, and then you looked on the other side and there was another girl, I don't know, from the year before or what, and you kind of, shit. Yeah. Give me the story. Give me the story.
I guess now PG we're getting here, but that's not too bad. This was in Charlotte, so they had it.
It's in Charlotte, so that was fucked that up too. Sorry, your friend told me Players, so okay.
Epic player parties when they used to have the player parties. Yeah. So met a female that Monday night, hung out a little bit, and then I was starting to date this other girl from Tennessee. Katie,
Katie, I have met Katie. Yes,
years ago.
Hey, Katie, how are you?
15 years ago, but the one on Monday night was on the ropes. The other one's on the other side of the ropes, and Anthony Kim was actually being paired. His name's back in the media nowadays, but we were laughing. I shot like 82, 83 that day, so it didn't really matter. But
was it because of that though? Were you so rattled, or what was going through your mind? Like, oh shit.
No, I think it was just a bad week of golf, and Charlotte ate my lunch, but. That was a funny one.
Oh, that's classic. Oh, that's great. So you, again, your first, 2 years on tour, you're buzzing, you're crushing it. When did you start? Like, what were some of the reasons you think that, the play started to decline? Did you get hurt? Lack of confidence? All of the above?
Yeah, I herniated my disc in '09, L5S1, which I did in 2002. So it was kind of a re-injury of my disc, and I took about 6 weeks off, and maybe should have taken the whole year off, and kept my card that year. But I think I developed some bad habits, some bad swing habits. Well, I wasn't keeping up with my fitness enough, and maybe it just like the first 2 years that West Coast, it seemed so easy to me. I would keep my card in the first 2 months, and then it's kind of cruise, and that year 3 or 4 when I stopped playing good on the West Coast, then the heat was on.
Right, then you really started kind of going, fuck, that was
exactly. But I just kind of lost the love of the game at the end of my career. Probably like I just didn't love golf enough to put in the effort and the fitness and the amount of practice, and I had a great time out there, but it wasn't like some of these guys just live and eat golf, and that wasn't me.
No, it's a different game, a different time too, right? Like your guys, and obviously even before you guys, I mean, they wanted to win and they put in work, but they also enjoyed themselves. Yeah. And I think we had a great crew with Trahan and Mellinger and Hoffman. We get Airbnbs. That's kind of when it started. You start renting homes together and barbecuing and enjoying traveling, because the road is lonely when you're on by yourself, and if you don't have a family traveling with you and trying to find someone to eat with every night, and it's I think everyone kind of knows it's not as glorious in any of the professional sports as it sounds. I mean, it's great when it's great, and it's bad when it's bad. Yeah. So you had a good core. You guys you did have a good core group, and you guys love to, we love to work hard and play hard.
Trunk slam on a Friday night and go out and have a great time and enjoy the city. And we didn't have the social media. We didn't have to worry about people taking pictures or nowadays
waking up the next morning going, what did I do? It's on Instagram, Jeff. You might want to take a look.
Exactly. So kind of lived in that golden era. I'm sure the guys even before us had it better than us, but it was that window before all that stuff hit.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Would you say then Hoffman and Mallard, those were kind of your...
I think we're all kind of the same age, collegiate friends, and just West Coast guys, and we play a lot of practice rounds together and rent houses together, and just, we were great friends.
Nice. All right, very good. I think that's it. I have
Cool.
I mean, I'm not done yet. We're going to go
some nice Pine Ridge
Cabernet.
Pine
Ridge Cabernet. We're now going to move to what I call the Shooting the Shit segment. And this segment's actually sponsored by Velocity Golf in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a virtual golf studio that does golf lessons. You can rent a bay for practice or play. They have TrackMan, K-Vest, and other swing training aids. So again, if you live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, go check them out. You can go to their website at velocitysportsgolf.com and give them a call. Ask for Andrew Logal. All right, here we go. A couple questions for you. Nothing too crazy. Let's just start with your favorite golf movie.
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack's a great one. My favorite is, I know I'm asking you, but I'll tell you mine, because nobody ever says it is Dead Solid Perfect.
I'm not sure I've ever seen it.
Randy Quaid, phenomenal movie.
Check it out.
Least favorite player to be paired with when you were on the PGA Tour. You got the old tee sheet on Tuesday and said, fuck. I know a lot of people would say Kevin Na back in the day because he was slow, but did you have a guy you were like, fuck, this is going to be
I don't know if it was least favorite, but I was definitely intimidated by Frank Licklider. I don't know if you know that name.
I do know Frank, yeah. Big dude.
Just wore these huge spikes. Like, if you started to line up your putt before it was your turn, and he would like yell at you, be like, wait your turn. Which he was very just etiquette oriented, and he was a little intimidating to play with.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Good to know. How about your favorite player to be paired with?
I played a lot of great golf with Jason Gore. LA, I played great with him. The Players, where I had the second place finish. Players finished third with him. Like, he was very friendly to play with. We had a great time.
And were you were relatively friendly with him, or
yeah,
not really,
yeah.
Right? Like,
no, I mean he's a great dude. So I don't know if he was more favorite. I just had great luck with him.
Okay. So. How about who was the biggest dick on tour when you played? Not even being paired with, but just like, I can't.
I get that question quite often. I don't really have a name that jumps up there. I really didn't mind guys too much.
That sounds like the political correct answer, guys.
Yeah.
But, maybe we'll get the one. We'll have him on again, and he'll give me the true answer. What would be your dream foursome?
I lost my dad about 8 years ago now. I think he definitely would be in that group. I think you got to put Arnold Palmer back in that group. I don't know who my fourth would be. Somebody fun, like even just like the character of like a Chevy Chase or Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, sure. Right. It doesn't have to be a golfer.
Like
of course.
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase back in like the 80s after
the
filming Caddyshack Fletch and all that.
Just be that figure.
Oh, it would have been phenomenal. What's that? Oh, yeah. You do drugs, Danny? Yeah. That's my producer chiming in, folks.
Every day. What's the problem?
I like this is a good one, and somebody asked us this at dinner, and it was a good kind of conversation piece. But I know you're a huge music guy too, so if you could go back in time and attend any concert, period, it doesn't matter whatever. What show would you go to?
I think I would go to the Beatles, probably. Just some type of show where it'd just be epic when they're just starting the music industry and just breaking the shell.
That's what I said too. The Beatles concert at Shea Stadium, their first time over here, I think would have been fucking electric.
Yeah, I think that'd be. I mean, I love Bob Marley. I think he would probably put on some great shows.
Marley would be good. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah. Okay. For my final question, I asked this of all the guests. Give me your best emergency shit story. For instance, Jones, his last one, he shit himself on the 10th hole, I believe, at the Travelers, and had to change his pants and do the whole nine.
I don't know if it's really actually an accident, but Jonesy's actually playing with me. He was at our sophomore year at Hazeltine NCAA championship, playing a practice round. Had to go mid-round, porta potty out to the side. Do your business. No TP in the stall. And so I'm like, do I use my towel? End up using my pin sheet from a previous tournament, and so it's kind of nasty, but that's probably my one story that I remember. One of my other nightmare stories involving the rear end is my chafing problem.
And I have that issue too.
So this is probably 2008. We're all wearing silk pants, pleated pants. I'm wearing cotton boxers, nothing like the guys are wearing the Tommy Johns and the moisture pants nowadays. Yeah. So we're in Colonial, and it's 100 degrees, and we're in and out of the clubhouse because of rain delays. And then developed a little rawness. Finish the tournament, go to Memorial, and I'm chafing so bad on the course, and I'm powdering, and I ended up having to go like Vaseline on like Saturday. It was that bad. Free ball, Vaseline. I come in the clubhouse, another rain delay. Tiger's never in the clubhouse, and he has to come in because of the rain delay. And we're sitting next to him having lunch, and my pants are so Vaseline. I'm leaving the stains on the chair, and Tiger's next to me, like laughing. Like, you never hang out with Tiger, and that was like one of my favorite Tiger moments because he's making fun of me because I just got grease everywhere because that's the only way I can continue to move and make the cut. You have to withdraw from the U.S. Open qualifier the next day in Columbus. Cancel playing Memphis the next week, and have to lie to my girlfriend at the time that I have a back problem. And this is the same girl from Tennessee, and like, my back's hurt. I have to go home. I literally had such a bad chafe problem. I had to withdraw from the U.S. Open and
next week.
Yeah.
That's bad. I can't even top that. I had a master story where I didn't put any, I usually will rub cream or something on there. And I couldn't even move that night or the next day. But I mean,
Yeah. And I think it was, what's the guy's name? His name is Caddy is DJ. Caddy for Heath Slocum. Saved my life to this day. He's like, it's not about baby powder. It's not about Gold Bond. It's about antiperspirant deodorant prevent defense. So basically 3 swipes, and I basically haven't chafed since, and it's all awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, as always, I'll end it on that. Jeff, thanks for doing this, buddy. And again, I'm sure you'll be a guest again. It's great catching up, man. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.